This is Rebecca Lowe, or Rebecca Lua, if you listen to Suboptimal Radio, and you are listening to Men in Blazers on the NBC Sports Network.
It's unbelievable!
From the Embassy Row studios in the crap part of Soho, it's the Men in Blazers podcast, Rog.
Oh, Davo. Dark wings, dark words.
I know, it really is. I feel like this week really is a dark week. You say that at the beginning of every week, but this week actually is a dark week.
There's a rule of thumb, Davo.
Yeah.
When there's more tragedies and loss in the world than Everton defeats, we're in a place of total darkness. Houston, Florida, the Mexico earthquake, Puerto Rico. Oh, poor Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Oh, to our friends on the island, especially at Puerto Rico FC, GFOP, Carmelo Anthony's team, and everyone on that island. We ache for you. And now, Las Vegas. Vegas, Davo, that town of wonder, where we were just 3 weeks ago together.
We were.
Our tears, they're filling up our glasses.
Yeah.
World needs more love, Davo.
Yeah.
Needs more love.
If you haven't watched it, Jimmy Kimmel's monologue last night, very powerful, very emotional. Not sure I've ever watched a comedian really losing it during his monologue, but it's very moving.
What a role he's playing at the moment. A role you picked him out for on the Man Show. You knew he had it in him. In fact, the fact that you didn't know he had it in him, that no one in the early days probably would have known, it makes it all the more powerful, David.
Well, it was way before the Man Show, but he always had talent. But I'm not sure there is a... You know, we talked the other day on the pod about how much a man can change, how much you can change in your life. I'm not sure that I've known anybody in my life who has grown more as a human than James Kimmel. It's quite remarkable who he is today from who he once was. Always a person, a remarkably nice guy, someone of incredible talent, but the things that he's able to communicate on television, just watching him this whole last year, from the Academy Awards to his weighing in on healthcare to last night his monologue on Vegas, quite powerful, quite amazing. Our thoughts with, all the families of the victims of that horrible, horrible shooting.
We should be careful of each other. We should be kind while there's still time. I want to offer you my condolences, Dave, on the passing of one of your early mentors.
Yeah, I was, I didn't see this on the news. I just happened to open up the newspaper this weekend when I was sitting at the golf club and read that the great Monty Hall had passed away. Monty was a great mentor to me early in my career. I found myself in Florida in 1990, getting my Writers Guild card, working as a writer on Let's Make a Deal. It was a remake of the classic game show Let's Make a Deal, not the current Wayne Brady one. But
for those listeners who don't know, Let's Make a Deal is one of the great juggernauts of
it's one of the
television.
Great American game shows. It started on radio. Monty started it on radio in Canada and then brought it to the US when he was a young man, moved from Canada, ended up sort of in New York and then in Beverly Hills. And he really sort of made this show his own. He had an outstanding broadcasting career, just way beyond Let's Make a Deal.
What kind of a man was he, Davo, for those of us who didn't know him?
He was a gifted communicator, super sharp, and he understood. Hosting a game show is incredibly hard. It's something that looks so easy on television, but the job is incredibly hard. You have to both administer a game. It's like trying to referee a game, play a game, and broadcast it all at the same time. It's trying to do, every single role. And he made it look effortless. And he just had this intrinsic understanding of people, and he knew the inflection point when he would get them to that moment of doubt, when they would where they would be terribly tempted to take the money, but they would also be terribly tempted to take what was behind the door or in the box or doing that thing.
The booby prize was always behind door number 3.
Yeah, the zonk that was there between 1, 2, and 3. Anyway, this bizarre American game show, this young English writer in Orlando in 1989, 1990, got my break on that show. Monty was another host. I've forgotten his name. Bob Hilton was his name. A former insurance salesman got the job to host the show. And it didn't do very well on NBC Daytime. So Monty was brought out of retirement. He's already in his 70s, brought out of retirement to host the program.
Bobby's still very big in insurance, it should be said.
The second he did it, he was just electric, his ability to sort of host that show. He had total command over it. And But the bigger thing for me is behind the scenes, watching this guy sort of as a young writer, aspiring producer, running a production meeting, the way he could explain the creative and the content. And I'm not trying to pretend this was, the Merchant of Venice. This was not this was not Beethoven.
It was bigger.
But he made every single deal on this game show. He dealt with it with a level of detail that was absolutely, absolutely mind-blowing. And I still run production meetings off an itemized rundown like Monty Hall. When I first saw Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the British version of the game show, which really changed my career, Rog, when I brought that to the US, Monty had said to me as a young writer that every great game show comes down to this one moment when you either win everything or lose everything. And when I first saw Millionaire, I saw that moment, Monty's moment, again and again and again and again and again. It's why I staked everything and quit my job at ABC to go and pursue that show.
When you wrote that on Instagram stories, when you heard about his passing, that every great game comes down to a single moment when the contestant wins or loses everything.
Yeah.
I thought, not just every great game, but every game of football, and in fact, every great moment in life.
Yeah, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. It's the glorious thing. It's the thing why I don't like previews, because what I don't like, I can't, we've talked about this before, I don't like previewing football games, because what makes football so great is that you don't know exactly what's going to happen. There are these incredible moments we saw them this weekend where the whole game changes in an instant, and I love that.
And let's make a deal, Monty Hall's Juggernaut, it really was the American life to me when I watch it played out in fast motion. Losing everything in public is really my entire life experience encapsulated. I loved your other point that you talked to when you were talking about life lessons. You said details are always important, and you learn that from Monty Hall.
Every detail. He would talk a lot about the reveal. I didn't get into this, but he talked a lot about the the way that an envelope was opened during an award show, the sound of the envelope, the drum roll. That is sort of a detail that came from sort of military executions, that drum roll.
What do you call the music? Just
a tension bed.
The tension bed.
This
This pod needs more tension beds.
Every single detail is so important, and the reveal in a game is everything. It's the way that every graphic's important in sports. Every
crap cat. We're talking about you.
Exactly. Every detail is very important. Monty was a great thing, and I ran into him a couple of times through the rest of my career. I communicated with his daughter Sharon this week, who I ended up working with at Sony. She was a drama executive, a very successful television executive in her own right. I went and saw Monty a few years ago at Hillcrest Golf Club, where he played his golf in Los Angeles. And I told him that I still ran production meetings of an itemized rundown, and I channel him all the time. And he said to me with that little twinkle in his eyes, like, "I'm glad you can never get me out of your mind," which I really enjoyed.
Oh, what a North American life. Born Monty Halperin.
Yeah.
In Winnipeg, turned into Monty Hall, a juggernaut. I love that life lesson. Details are important, because I'm someone who doesn't do details, Dave. That's why I hate bureaucracy. I like broad strokes, like Andy Carroll. But,
he does some details.
Now he's passed.
Yeah.
Tom Petty, rest in peace too. That great Floridian. Oh, baby, don't it feel like heaven right now? Don't it feel like something from a dream? And we got ourselves an international break to boot, Davo. Total darkness. Thank God pies don't go on international break, Davo. I'd be totally bereft. One quick note I've got to ask you about.
Yeah.
Watching the college basketball meltdown this week. Why is every single villain in American sports named Blazer? And college basketball taken down by Louis Martin Blazer the third.
Mm-hmm.
God, I'd love to know who the second and the original were.
Yeah.
Damn you for the damage you're doing to the reputation of all Blazers, mate. I mean, what Chuck Blazer started,
Yeah.
I think Louis Martin the third is finishing. If this all keeps up, we're going to have to change our name, David.
What? The men in what?
The men in Alfie Mawson jerseys.
You are wearing an Alfie Mawson number 6 jersey right now. People constantly say to me, "Oh, I like your men in suits, your men in jackets." We could easily do.
Oh, men
that.
in gillets. I like a nice gillet.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I've got an Alfie Mawson
Gilet.
jersey on right now. Thanks to everyone at Swansea City for sending. What did they send you?
I got a Tammy Abraham jersey.
They know us.
I think it was the third kit, but
So
I got
well.
it.
I think Paul Clement picked them purposely for us.
Yeah.
He's a great friend of the pod. In other Men in Blazers news, we need a tension bed in there.
Yeah.
In honour of Monty Hall. We need to get the Monty Hall tension bed, producer J-Dubs. I spent this
I
weekend.
tell you, Monty Hall didn't have a tension bed. He made the tension bed happen but in the space between him and the contestant. The tension bed became way later in order to imitate what Monty Hall was able to do.
He could naturally conjure a tension bed.
He could naturally conjure a tension bed.
Just like I naturally conjure a cloud of total misery, self-loathing and displeasure.
Yep. Pretty much.
I
Pretty
prefer
much
to have Monty
identical.
Hall's gift, please.
Yeah.
I spent this weekend, Dave, either fasting for Yom Kippur or when that was done, I was holed up playing FIFA 18.
Yeah.
Just come out. I love the way they launch it on Yom Kippur, which is, I've got to say, it is so bloody good this year. Game is slightly slower, so the gameplay feels even more realistic.
Huh.
And the Cole celebrations make it worth buying alone. There's so much creative hugging in this version, which I'm all in on. Thanks to our great friends at EA Sports, we're able to award a glut of prizes
Yeah.
to GFOPs in our look into the future and design the cover for FIFA 19 competition.
Absolutely.
Take it away, Davo.
I love the idea of Alex Hunter spending Yom Kippur with you and your family. Yes.
He's a very pious man.
Yes, Rog. The winner
Young Hunter.
of our EA Sports FIFA 19 cover contest. We must say we received some amazing entries for this one. Hundreds of GFOPs from around the world sent in submissions, and we've chosen 6 winners, each of whom will receive a copy of EA Sports FIFA 18, courtesy of the GFOPs at EA Sports. Our
Insert
favourite.
tension bed here.
Our favourite of the lot comes from GFOP Pei Yen in Laguna Beach, California. Let's describe Pei Yen's entry. It is an amazing piece of Photoshop.
It's up there with the Mona Lisa in my mind.
It's
haunting.
It's Real Madrid's Harry Kane wearing
At the Bernabeu.
at the Bernabeu wearing a Real Madrid jersey, his full Real Madrid kit. This could be happening quite soon.
And his legs are just spread. He's just scored a goal and he's just everyone,
Ronaldo style.
look at me. And there's no speech bubble out of it, but he's like, Spurs.
Yeah, and I do believe
Who's
that
that?
the face, looking at the face,
New phone. Who dis?
it does look like the level of detail here is that it does look like a morph between Ronaldo's, Cristiano's, and Harry Kane's actual faces.
I think it's Ronaldo's bust and
Yeah.
Harry Kane mated together.
Yeah, he has built Cristian Kanealdo. That's pretty good.
More Harry Kane to come. There are a ton of great entries. We're going to pop them all up on meninblazers.com. I will say this competition is one of my favourite annual rituals, up there with Churchill Day and the aforementioned Yom Kippur. I think it brings out the best in everyone. So thank you to all those GFOPs. And if you weren't a winner, grab hold of the game because it is a joy to behold.
Absolutely. Next Men in Blazers show, Rog.
When is it, Davo?
October the 16th.
At 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live after the game of the season, the big one, the one we've all been waiting for.
Who is it, Rog?
Leicester City, West Brom.
Oh, I love that.
Ballads will be written about that one.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Yeah. You've got 2 films debuting on NBCSN right before that game on the 16th at 1 p.m. It's the third part of your promoted series, which looks at teams that rose to the Premier League this season and the history and culture of the localities in which they play. The latest, Huddersfield Town. I know you are potty about Huddersfield. That's followed
Visions.
at 1:30 p.m. by your Inside the Mind of David Wagner
I went there.
documentary in which you enter the brain of the Terriers manager. I can't believe he let you in a tiny travel capsule Rick Moranis style. Or do you just practice phrenology? Either way, it's worth taking the afternoon off work. Is it? To catch those 2 instant classics.
It is, David.
Yeah.
Monday, 16th of October.
Yeah.
All Huddersfield, all the time.
Yeah.
Up the Terriers. Do you think that whole town of Huddersfield has ever had so much exposure in America before on the annual Huddersfield Day on the NBC Sports Channel? I'll say that David Wagner Inside the Mind is truly fascinating, despite the fact that I'm in it. He's just such a smart, innovative risk taker. Sometimes he takes a few too many risks, as we will discuss today.
Okay, we've got a packed show. We're going to dissect Pep's tactical masterclass in City's 1-0 victory over Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. We beg United to put down the broomstick after their 4-0 battering of Premier League pinata Crystal Palace. They could probably
Bastards.
beat them at Quidditch as well. And we log on to Zillow.com to check out real estate along Gran Via for Harry Kane after another brace in Tottenham's 4-0 thumping of Huddersfield. Plus, a massive seismic holy crap week ahead for the US men's national team.
Oh, my God. All right. To the football. Oh, I'm going to open this Guinness. And as a toast, this is our tension bed.
Yeah.
I'm going to reflect my black-hearted mood by reading an email from GFOP Paul Debas, which is, thanks to its sorrow and its tone, our Guinness Poet Philosopher Scribe of the Week, David. Paul wrote, "Dear Men in Blazers, I'm an Everton fan, a Dolphins fan, and a Rutgers fan. That means all three of my teams didn't just lose this weekend. None of them scored a point.
Oh, my goodness.
The Dolphins actually made Everton look like a well-oiled machine by comparison. So I raise this and I say to you, Paul Debus, to you, every supporter of every defiantly proud losing team, and not so defiantly proud losing team, I feel your pain, and I wish I could reach through the pod and give you, no doubt your body still curled up in fetal position, Paul, a little hug. As a wise man named Dabo said last week, what's wrong with losing the day instead of saving it? So I raise this Guinness to losing the day, Davo.
Yeah. Every now and then you got to lose.
Nice segue.
Chelsea 0, Man City 1. First place, Manchester City marches on Stamford Bridge and defeats the defending champs behind a thunderous 67th minute strike from head Ginge in charge and Chelsea discard Kevin De Bruyne. An impressive win and dominant performance for Pep Guardiola's men against a team they struggled against last season. We remember the famous crossbar attempt from KDB right in front of goal. They managed to wipe that one
One
away.
of many great moments in two Manchester City losses last season, which made this a moment of truth for Guardiola and his pepper balls at City, who, as you mentioned, lost not just once but twice against Chelsea last season. So this was a Manchester City win, for which hyperbole doesn't do justice. Say, Chelsea entered the game with the wind at the backs. I mean, that nipple-tingling midweek victory at Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
City, admittedly, a day more rest from their Champions League toils during the week. But the double body blows of the loss of Benjamin Mendy and Sergio Aguero, we should mention how he got injured, fracturing his rib after a PT Cruiser that he got into, a PT bloody Cruiser. He was taxiing in it, crashed in Amsterdam. He could miss 8 weeks. At Josh T tweeted, "Who let Scooby drive the mystery machine?" How optimistic were you before kickoff, Dave? Take us back before kickoff as the teams were lining up.
I mean, to be honest, I hadn't thought a lot about this game.
Because you don't do previews.
Well, no, but I hadn't thought a lot about it. And I was still, frankly, and still am today, just dealing with the highs of that amazing win midweek against Atletico Madrid. That was a great win. Chelsea have not played a better game in Europe that I've ever seen, including the Champions League final. They've not played a game in which they not only won, but they actually dominated the game.
There was a beautiful moment when Antonio Conte was leaping around on the sideline, which I was Instagram storying, and then I span around to capture Davo in his complete and utter thrill of victory doing a eerily similar dance. It was truly joyful.
No, that was an amazing win. So I hadn't thought a lot about it. Look, I've gone on record. I think Manchester City and Manchester United, they're the two best teams in the Premier League this year. You always feel that you might go and lose to one of those teams. Chelsea, you know, some of their impregnability at Stamford Bridge has just gone out of the window the last few seasons, certainly the season before last, and certainly the opening day of the season against Burnley. However, I did not expect Chelsea to lose this match in the way that they lost this match. And the way they lost this match was they were utterly and completely out-tacticked, Rog, by Pep Guardiola.
I mean, out everything, Dave. I mean, when you mention tactics, this was from the off like watching elite avant-garde 4D tactical chess from both managers. I mean, at the outset, you think that hidden gem Fabian Delph is a left-back. He's a false 2.
Yeah.
And you think Hazard is a big bottom small? No, he's going to play like a big bottom big. This was high-octane stuff. It was a heavyweight prize fight for the neutral. City trying to compensate for their litany of injuries, sent Sané and Raz high up the field. They pinned Chelsea's wing-backs in their own half, especially the lethal Dave. Stunted that supply line that's been so productive. But that's a high-risk game against a Chelsea who just love to punish opponents' mistakes. And the true story of this game for me, David, that bar one Kyle Walker relapse in the first half, City just didn't make any mistakes.
Well, you also said a very key thing there. Wing back Dave. Dave does not play wing back in this system, in the Antonio Conte three-man back thing. He plays a centre-back. And I think Conte, after midweek, he sort of changed his lineup a little bit. He shifted a little bit. He played two men up front instead of his standard three. And he went back to that again. And, oh my word, Pep was ready for it. He then decided to go a little bit more conservative, fit an extra centre-back into the lineup and play Dave at wing-back rather than Victor Moses. And he paid for it. Chelsea had no width. Manchester City killed them with width. They pinned back Chelsea's wing-backs. And suddenly they had all the space.
Yeah, I mean, and they were so emboldened come the 35th minute when the stunningly handsome, just as effective Alvaro Morata limped off.
Yeah.
God, I just felt for you. That hamstring injury, I felt for football. He's possibly out for a month.
Yeah, we'll see.
Cue looks of concern across the requisite fan shops.
Yeah.
Chelsea technical director Michael Emenalo, my
Yeah.
lord, he was first to give a standing ovation for old Morata as he stumbled off from behind the Chelsea bench. Really, a symbol of just how much your club know they've come to rely on him so quickly, Morata.
Yeah, absolutely. It's okay, though. We've got Solanke. Oh, no, we don't. We've got Abraham. Oh, no, we don't. We let him go, too. We got Bats. We got Bats. Let's go and stick Bats out there. But he didn't even put Bats in. He brings
The
on...
withered Willian.
Yeah, he brings on Willian, decides to not go and play anybody up front whatsoever. And I think this was the first game where... This was the first big game that Conte's played. By the way, he's not won every big game. We go back to the beginning of last season, the Wendepunkt, the turning point, those losses in quick succession against Arsenal and Liverpool, which changed the way he played. But since then, he's not won every big game. There was that terrible loss there was that terrible loss also in Manchester. This game reminded me a lot of that loss in Manchester against Manchester United, where he just felt individually outplayed that day. But it's very rare at home to watch him being sort of out-tacticked throughout the game. His changes didn't make the difference. He never got a grip on what Manchester City were trying to do, and not only trying to do, achieving constantly against his side.
Poets looking for a through line on this game could suggest that while Man City were able to find a way to win without their leading scorer, your team, Chelsea, they almost instantly became impotent without theirs. I mean, what Morata's loss did, Chelsea were deprived of a willing runner. There was no one going behind the opponent's back 2.5. Psychologically, Chelsea replaced their own threat with a sudden, nagging, sagging awareness of their own mortality. And in the second half, City just came on, transformed. They suddenly were relentless hunters. Chelsea sat deep. Pep, it was like watching... I read a lot about Roman siege warfare. I'm quite fascinated by it. I mean, they were just ruthless tacticians. And Pep was just like a general taken to a besieged town. I mean, he sent siege towers, catapults, iron-tipped battering rams, heavy cavalry, David Silva's short probing, KDB's effortless long balls. God, Silva and KDB, they're the best duo since Kit Harington and Rose Leslie. And Chelsea at first, I'll say, I thought they remained cool, Davo. Christensen, so robust, really excelled. Rudiger, rippled. And the legacy of JT for me at Chelsea, few defences blocked more shots on the edge of the area than Chelsea.
Word, they blocked so many.
It's like Chris Pronger's playing for you.
Well, look, I mean, I think you have to say about Chelsea, Chelsea weren't completely and utterly outplayed. Chelsea played some very good football just to stay in this game, just to advance beyond halfway. That's how good Manchester City were. That's
So
how
true.
good the tactics were, how well they played.
True.
Chelsea had some moves where, in order to get out of their own defensive third, out of their own middle third, they had to do things just exceptional just to do that. There was some beautiful...
give the ball to Raz.
Well, there was some beautiful technical football played. Not necessarily by Bakayoko and Kante, but there was some beautiful technical football played in this game. And Chelsea did their part as well.
Did you think they could hold off City?
Well, no, they did defend incredibly well, and I think you've got to give some credit to Chelsea to only lose this match 1-0 when they were just so overmatched.
Totally agree.
Chelsea, and this is the key to this Chelsea side, and it's why they, when they get the tactics right going forward, they can be a danger in Europe, and they can still be, one weekend does not make the Premier League. They can still be a danger in the Premier League. They are just very good at defending, and they have so many defenders. You're right to point out Christensen, you're right to put out Rudiger, but I got to tell you, if I wasn't already impressed with Manchester City, after this one, I feel like Pep is starting to get the hang of this Premier League lark.
But it took 67 minutes, David. Frustrated. It was like watching KDB. It was as if he was frustrated by his teammates' imprecision. I mean, he just seemed to almost say, you know what? I'm going to take matters into my own hands. It's like watching a man arrive at a fist fight with a warhammer in his hand. That ginger, athletic Belgian cowherd. He exchanged passes with Gabriel Jesus, broke through, pulled back his left foot, and then he just dispatched that rising high heat. Oh, all the pent-up pain, born of rejection, Davo, frustration, and the yearning for redemption.
Yeah,
all of it came
crossbar. Out. Yeah, I felt it was the crossbar
December.
more than anything. Yeah, definitely.
If you don't remember, Google it. You can watch KDB miss an open goal. The same man who scored this goal, this absolute lash, missed an open goal from 2 yards out, which would have finished off Chelsea, only to see them turn the game around and win comprehensively. This year, he gained his revenge. The way he roared as the ball hit the back of the net. It was like watching an outcast experience vengeance, wonder, glory, footballing Rachel Lee Cook in She's All That right at the end. When you watched him charge towards the City fans, he picked them out from the thousands of Chelsea fans who'd once watched him in a darker blue shirt before he was spurned in a Mourinho ginger purge, sent away for just $24 million 3 years ago. You know, a lot of them went. KDB, Mata, Lukaku. Do you rue KDB most?
Yeah, KDB certainly more than anybody else because we never really had a player who replaced him. With Lukaku, we signed some very good strikers. You know, look, in the end, Lukaku for Diego Costa first and now Diego Costa for Morata. So we've done pretty well in that position. KDB is the one that hurts because we've never really had a player like him. By the way, when he played at Chelsea, his first go-round, and by the way, he then did come on in Germany. It's not like he went straight to Man City and made it. But he was a wide player, played wide, and it clearly was not his position. I think more and more the work he's doing at Man City is when he's just inside, battering ram, straight down the middle. He's almost incomparable in world football. I can't think of a player who plays quite like KDB. But a superb player. He has disarming physical strength, quite apart from his technical skill, his vision, his finishing ability. Just does so many things well.
And so behold, Pep Guardiola's first ever victory against Chelsea in 8 attempts. As comprehensive, as you said, as comprehensive a 1-0 win as I've seen. More dominant than the Manchester United last-minute flurry 4-0.
Yeah.
Chelsea, just made to look blunt, lacking in power even. Something I never thought I'd say about Conte's Chelsea. I mean, City's potency was just so rippled. I can't remember when I last saw Chelsea outplayed, outmuscled, out everything at Stamford Bridge like that. How did it make you feel?
Well, not against domestic competition. Against European competition, it's happened. And it did remind me a lot of the game at Old Trafford when they were outmuscled by Mourinho, like doing one on his old team for there. But it's haven't seen it happen a lot at home, except by Burnley. When we had one less,
Mighty Burnley,
when
mate.
we had
Mighty
one, when we had one less player on the pitch. I mean, look, as far as Chelsea is concerned, I don't think it takes a lot of soccer knowledge to look at two teams and to say Manchester City are a better football team than Chelsea. The weird thing about Chelsea, you could have said the same about the two teams last year, and Chelsea won the Premier League. Chelsea find a way to win things when they're not necessarily the best team in it. The one sort of asterisk I put on it, and it's not vis-a-vis Manchester City, but vis-a-vis the performance, is that coming off that European high, I think that you watched that Chelsea performance midweek. That was a dominant physical performance. That had every single thing. I think now we've got to worry a little bit, what are Chelsea going to be without Morata? But I don't think you will see Antonio Conte adjust to play the opposition at home at Stamford Bridge again, going away from his beloved system in order to adjust at home. I think a lot of fans really, raise their eyebrows at that.
Bright side, as you've said, to only lose by 1 goal against that attack. I mean, more than an attack, it's a mass brigade. Strong and intelligent as Manchester City's. A team that is able to score goals from all over that field. Yeah. It's honestly, it's an immense positive. City had 62% possession, 17 shots, most cannoned off Rudiger's buttocks. But Conte is going to have plenty to think about over the international break. 19 matches at home last season, just 6 points dropped. This season, they've already let 8 slip. Lack of a trusted replacement for Morata, Willian's decline, and a squad that really doesn't look dense enough right now to wage war on multiple fronts.
Absolutely, that's the key point. This was the first week in which they really had a challenging Premier League game after playing in Europe, and the first thing we saw is not a huge amount of rotation of the squad. Very, very similar starting lineup. It's going to be a very, very tough season.
An enormous signature win, though, for Pep, Guardiola and City. So much turbulence entering this game with the injuries to Mendy and Aguero. So destabilising. I'd say Fabian Delph, so intelligent at whatever kind of left-backish kind of position he was playing. City, who'd netted 16 goals in savaging lesser teams, Palace, Watford and Liverpool, who've been sent down to 10 men, here subduing your Chelsea with ease. And just as crucial as the goal, in the long term, the clean sheet achieved despite an Otamendi being on the field. Ederson, wow.
Ederson played great. Ederson
Fantastic.
looked to, that was another big point about this game, I think, for Manchester City's title aspirations, is that, you know, when you go sort of man for man, if you build a combined Man United, Man City team, you know, you would almost always take David. I think almost everybody would take David De Gea in goal. This was the first weekend in which I thought, Ederson's got some things that I wouldn't mind having him in goal for that, you know, for that combined team.
He's how you say mammoth upgrade in goalkeeping confidence in Portuguese.
This isn't a clash of the big six, Rog, but significant for both teams in different ways. Manchester United 4, Crystal Palace 0. On the other side of Manchester, the most predictable result of the weekend sees Jose Mourinho's United repel lowly, hapless, lifeless, insert similar adjective here, Palace, from Old Trafford behind goals from Kerber Juan Mata, Romelu Lukaku, your boy, and 2 from your other boy, Marouane Fellaini. Palace still without a single point or goal on the season, dead so long. Rigor mortis is setting in, Rog.
What I've realised is United are the best of Everton. Everton's big mistake was to be the best of Swansea. But we'll get to that. How we weep right now for Rebecca Lowe's Crystal Palace, to give them their full name. God, that coach journey to Old Trafford, no goals, without starting striker Christian Benteke, now down, out for 6 weeks with a knee injury. That must have been some stomach-churning experience. I imagine Roy Hodgson would have just said, lads, keep things close and tight for as long as you can. And they lasted all of 3 minutes, torn apart by that mice and men midfield. Mata, George Milton, the intelligent self-taught little guy, and the giant Marouane Fellaini, the bulky yet awkward Lenny Small. Both of them did the damage. Mata scoring a classic Juan Mata goal. Hugs. And then Fellaini, he's just like a giant angry sunflower, kind of a target at set pieces. All his teammates just seem to aim the ball at him and he banks it in. What is fascinating about Fellaini, when he scores, he's still so wounded by his early Old Trafford experiences. He still points just to the name on the back of his jersey like Willie Loman. I want my name back. But he's gone this season, Davo, under Mourinho's careful, confidence-building tutelage, from transfer joke clown to potent warrior hero.
Do you remember that season under Moyes when Man United constantly crossed the ball and they could never, ever score a goal?
This is what he was aiming for.
Totally. And this was the total attack plan. It's just when it's working for you, it's working.
Lukaku finished off the route with his 7th goal in 7 games. Big whoopee. 7 more goals than the entire Crystal Palace squad.
Yeah.
An optimistic Crystal Palace fan, Dave. Could they make the claim that virtually every visitor's lost 4-0 at Old Trafford, so they've actually kind of reached normal team status with this result?
Look, Crystal Palace, in their defence, have had a very, very tough early season fixture list.
In that they've had to play opponents.
Yeah, they have. But they've gone to Manchester United, they've gone to Liverpool, they've gone to City. So they've had a very tough away fixture list. It's those home losses to Swansea and Huddersfield that have really, really done them in, though, Rog. It's tough. They don't defend very well. They don't have Wilfried Zaha. You mentioned Benteke. Loftus-Cheek, he's out with a groin strain. They just don't have a lot of depth. They don't have a lot of players. They don't seem to have any belief whatsoever, and they're getting slaughtered. I cannot imagine how low their morale is right now.
I can.
Yeah, well, no, it's actually lower than that, Rog.
I was
it's
thinking about
lower.
my own morale. I wasn't thinking about Everton.
The two are interconnected. It is just as low as it can be right now, and I just don't know how they turn it around. Certainly, you glance over towards the sideline looking for inspiration, and you see Uncle Roy, and it just he still looks very confused.
It's
Rog.
not clear there's been any evident change.
Yeah.
And it may be harsh to judge him so quickly because the kind of transformation that he deals in takes time to settle. But all I can see is just an uptick in post-match candour with his bewildered admission that his Crystal Palace team, quote, is like a boxer fighting in a class that he's not able to handle. That must really inspire confidence in that squad before they host Chelsea in the next game. Palace, to me, they remind me of the stories you hear when you speak to US men's national team players who used to play in the 80s when they were really, really outgunned and outmatched. And they tell you stories about whoever the manager was pre-game, especially at the Azteca, would just look at them and say, let's go out there and just not get beat too badly. Let's just aim not to embarrass ourselves, okay?
Kick it hard.
Yeah, kick it, man. Boot it, okay? Boot it tough. I watch Crystal Palace and I can't help but think about my childhood mate Stewie, who had a pair of socks, sports socks, athletic socks, by his bed. And it took me a long time to realise that those socks were merely a receptacle for his nightly discharges. And he used the same pair every night for years. They were just like, at that point, they were more crust than sock.
Ugh.
And that's Crystal Palace this season. They're just a receptacle for emissions.
I'm longing for Palace to get a win, get 3 points. Suddenly everything will look up. Everything will be very different. Surely it's coming.
United buoyant, even though they're yet to face a member of last season's top six, which they do when we return to Premier League action. They visit Liverpool October 14th.
Big game.
And then face Spurs and Chelsea in 2 of the 3 games that follow.
Oh, Roger's got a little twinkle in his eye now. He's just hoping that bad things are going to happen to his former Everton boys. Huddersfield 0, Tottenham, Rog 4, 3 goals in a 14-minute first half span, including 2 from Sir Harold of Kane, leave David Wagner's men with double visions. Spurs surge into third place and maintain their 100% start to the season away from Wembley.
Oh, Spurs so happy on the road. They
love the road.
They love an odyssey. They love it. They love an odyssey. They do.
Yeah.
They love an odyssey. They love an odyssey even more than Homer.
Yeah.
Huddersfield, though. They'd only allowed 3 goals in their first 6 top-flight matches. They entered this game. Hard to believe they had the second best defensive record in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
And a fatal overdose of naive confidence that came along with it. And it was torn asunder by 3 Spurs goals in the first 23 minutes. Cue our weekly wank-off over Sir Harry of Kane.
Yeah, the first one with his right foot, that was a good one, Rog. The second one with his left was that was just class.
And his assist to Ben Davies in between.
Yeah.
He's now netted 84 goals from 123 Premier League appearances, 13 goals in all competitions in September. When I watch him, I think about like a great major league slugger in the midst of a sizzling hitting streak when they say that the baseball just seems to slow down as it approaches the plate, or it looks so huge as they come near me, as the ball comes near me, I can't help but hit it out the park. In the same way, Kane just makes every football look like the goals are twice as big to him, that the defenders are half as fast. Every goalkeeper seems like Joe Hart. Are we making too much of him, David?
And he's been doing this for 3 years, bar August. It's what he does every single year. You know, British radio spent the entire weekend just debating in various forms, is Harry Kane world class? Is it fair to call him world class? Can we call him world class? It's a very divisive subject. I think that you just have to say Harry Kane is the best player that England have right now, and he's the best forward that we've had since Alan Shearer. And I don't think there's any other way to skin that. World class, we won't know until he goes and plays regularly in Europe, or if he goes and actually leaves and goes to Real Madrid. Then we might know if he's world class. Right now, he's just exceptional, and we should be all treasuring him.
I love it. If anything, David, I think we underappreciate him, precisely because he is English and he speaks English. So we understand every kind of word that comes out of his mouth. There's no mystery about him.
Yeah.
You know, the foreign language creates mystery around Lionel Messi.
Yeah.
The pectorals, the secret private life, the Lamborghini front creates mystery around Ronaldo.
The tan legs.
Yeah, I mean, we simply call Harry Kane a mouth breather.
Yeah.
He's a mouth breather. We
He
try
is.
and bring him
Yeah.
down. We wait for him to fail. I mean, the Tottenham fans, they love singing he's just a one-season wonder with full-throated joy. And we should enjoy him while we can. His weekly wages are $130,000 at Spurs, which sounds a lot, but it's peanuts everywhere compared to people who put the ball in the back of the net less than Harry Kane. We are truly watching Real Madrid's Harry Kane, and he's becoming that more and more of every goal, stepping stone away from Tottenham's arms every time the ball goes into the net. But Spurs are no one-man team. I mean, even though Pep Guardiola cheekily labelled them as that this weekend, Eriksen, Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Ben Bloody Davis, even the begrudging Sissoko contributing. The one black eye we should mention, Delhi, who's been kind of chucking in the spiky challenges, the one-finger salutes, and in this game, a ridiculous booking for a dive in the area when Spurs were already 3-0 up.
Oh, ridiculous, meaning it was a ridiculous offence to get a booking for. It was about the most stone-cold simulation call I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, he's going through, I like to think of it as Justin Bieber coming of age in spotlight pains.
Yeah.
And he just needs to dump a pet monkey at German customs and things will have bottomed out and everything will be good again. Spurs, though, have won their last 6 away in the Premier League, scoring 25 goals in the process. They just need to start treating Wembley mentally for what it is, an away game. And I think greatness will ensue.
Yeah, a lot of Spurs fans holding on to Harry Kane's words that if he gets a fair offer, he wants to stay at Tottenham, he wants to go and stay playing in that shirt. I think the problem for Tottenham is that stadium, the new stadium, the costs have doubled. I think originally it was 200 million, then to 400. Now it's an 800 million stadium. I think Spurs are going to need a return on some of that investment. And I think that with those European greats circling, I think Harry Kane is going to be off. So enjoy him while he is there. Not just Tottenham fans, all football fans. It's just wonderful to watch him play football right now. Arsenal 2, Brighton and Hove Albion 0. Arsene Wenger's men continue their climb up the table with a comfortable win at home over New Boys. Brighton, Nacho Monreal struck in the 16th minute, and in the 56th minute, Alex Iwobi, we're Iwobi's team now, latched onto a symphonic Alexis assist to seal the deal. Arsenal up to 5th, level on points with Chelsea, and trailing Spurs by just 1.
Just what Arsenal needed, and no fuss, no drama, no Ozil. Uneventful routine win.
Ozil.
6 consecutive in all comps. I'll say no team moves as loudly from 8th to 5th place as Arsenal Football Club. Just goal difference separates them and Chelsea in 4th. Oh, the precious coveted 4th place trophy is within fingertips.
Yes, it is.
And after 4 league games in which his team have won 3, scored 7, conceded none, Wenger, though, hinted at loftier, some would say slightly more deluded, aims. He said only 7 games played, 31 to go. Last year, after 6 games, Manchester City was top with 18 points. Let's not go to quick conclusions. It's a long way to go. Oh, Wenger, sick burn, bro.
Yeah, frozen cold takes. That could be featured in later. Newcastle 1, Liverpool 1. All the Reds' Gemini tendencies came out in this one. Rog Coutinho opened the scoring with a stunner, but just 8 minutes later, Joel Matip's last-ditch tackle on Joselu sent the ball caroming off the German-born Spaniard's knee and past a helpless Simon Mignolet. A point apiece for Newcastle manager Rafa Benitez and his former club, which now sits in 7th place on 12 points. Rog.
Oh, how that proud Anfield chant, "We are Liverpool, tra-la-la-la-la," it's just taken on a sinister, twisted menace.
Oh, I miss Happy Klopp.
Liverpool are the most bipolar team in football. In this game, they take the lead in stunning fashion.
Yeah.
Classic Coutinho. The only goal he knows how to score from way downtown.
Yeah.
Steph Curry range, curling away from a flailing goalkeeper. 5 of his last 6 goals have been scored from outside the box. I don't think since Big Pappy, an athlete, has been more in love with the long ball. Little Pappy.
He goes deep. He likes to go deep.
What I admire about this Liverpool team, though, is how consistent they are in their unpredictability. I mean, 29th minute, a stunner. 7 minutes later, they concede in Benny Hill best of DVD style. Joel Matip thoughtfully kicked the ball right into Joselu's shin at the right angle so it would ricochet with perfect speed and trajectory to bobble past the completely and utterly confused and defeated Simon Mignolet. 68% possession for Liverpool against a dogged, also I'll say impressive Benitez defensive performance, but they can't do anything with it. It's such a familiar pattern. Listen to this stat, Davey. At Bastune to Red, the Liverpool statistician said Liverpool have played 38 away games under Klopp. In half of those, they've had less than 60% possession, and they've earned 38 points, 2 points per game when they have less than 60% possession. But when they have more than 60% possession, they win just 25 points, a ratio of 1.3 points per game. And the worrying thing for Liverpool fans, they've seen so often that their team, when they're denied space to attack, have no answer. Klopp seems to have no learning curve, David. It's just the same effort over and over. Same thing on the defensive flammability. Just the repeat performance without any kind of learning or advanced iteration as a result of that.
Yeah. I mean, there is a manager on the other side of the ball, and I think that in this game, clearly, Benitez knew what he was doing. He deploys what he has superbly, getting performances out of, a lot of players who are either very raw in the Premier League or, tried and tested and not spectacular. We talk a lot about, the Premier League mood table. And I'm sure you find this with your family members who are Liverpool fans. My mates who are Liverpool fans they are completely and utterly bereft, confounded, confused, flummoxed. They just don't really know how to feel about this team. They want so much to believe in Jurgen Klopp. The idea of not believing in Jurgen Klopp. Liverpool fans, I don't think there are any fans in football who want to believe more in their manager, who talk about belief more. Remember all the Brendan Rodgers, like, we believe in Brendan. There's still the ghost of Kenny Dalglish there. They just want to believe so much in this man. And the idea that their faith is getting shaken right now is just tearing them apart.
And by the way, any GFOPs in technology who know how to make a weekly mood table based on fan sentiment, we would love to speak to you. We actually asked over Twitter whether there was a team in sports that's more creatively gifted, yet sabotagingly self-destructive in equal measure, like Liverpool. At Will Ramsey thought Enron comes to mind. Mark Dolce then sent a raven to suggest, so in other words, you're saying that Liverpool are the Shia LaBeouf of the English Premier League.
That'd be interesting to do a Premier League to Hollywood actor translator. That's a very good idea. Okay, Rog, West Brom 2, Watford 2, after going ahead through 2 goals in the first 21 minutes from Salomon Rondon and Northern Irish Salomon Rondon, Johnny Evans. The Baggies capitulate. The equaliser came in second half injury time. The equaliser from guess who, Rog? Your favourite, Richarlison.
Oh, my guilty pleasure. 95th minute, dying embers goal. This time he kept his shirt on, but only just. I'll say the free the nipple force is strong with this one.
Yeah. Stoke City 2, Southampton 1, an 85th minute winner from Parlour Limbs. Peter Crouch, Rog, remember him? Sees the Potters repel the Saints from the Bet365 with a lowercase b. Southampton and Stoke at 12th and 13th in the table, respectively.
Peter Crouch, fast approaching that pantheon of great English institutions that are so self-effacing, so glorious. It's like Judi Dench, Sir Patrick Stewart. They're so themselves, they can only be universally adored.
So good. Crouchy, he'd be great on Star Trek. Bournemouth, he could play an alien with no makeup whatsoever. Bournemouth 0, Leicester City 0. While the idea of Jamie Vardy smashing ales with the family carts, Ribena for mini carts, fills us with so much joy, the idea of recapping this football game does not. Each side claim a much-needed point from a game in which Leicester manager Craig Shakespeare started Riyad Mahrez on the bench, Rod.
Oh, that'd be an amazing television show. Hello, you're watching Smashing Ales with me, Jamie Vardy.
Beers on the couch on the plane.
Wouldn't need tension beds, that show. Just Smashing Ales.
West Ham 1, Swansea City 0. A 90th minute winner from Diafra Sakho sees the Hammers trade places with Paul Clement's men in the relegation zone. Everton 0. Burnley 1. Speaking of the relegation zone, Rog, a team just 2 points clear, Rog. Your beloved Everton. They fell to the Clarets at Goodison Park. A 21st minute goal from Irish international Jeff Hendrick. The difference in this one, Roger, the floor is yours. It's a little bit like Skip Bayless going on Undisputed talk about the Dallas Cowboys when they lose on Monday morning.
You're comparing me to Skip Bayless?
A little bit.
Oh, that's possibly it's the loveliest thing you've ever said to me, David.
Go ahead, Roger.
I don't know how to describe this. I fasted for 25 hours, David.
Yeah.
On Saturday.
Yeah.
For Yom Kippur.
With Alex Hunter.
No food. No water. Not even any scotch. And I just spent the entire time thinking about what I've done wrong.
Yeah.
And about death. The 90 minutes that I spent watching Everton.
Yeah.
On Sunday. Play Burnley. Were much worse. More miserable. More painful. More packed with suffering.
And you've done a lot wrong. And you've got very advanced thoughts about death.
Yeah, I mean, as any Everton fan is forced to confront, I mean, I'd say Burnley first. I'd say great things about them. This is a team with 1 point this season at Stamford Bridge, Anfield, and Wembley.
Yeah.
And they steamed into the lead with a stunning team goal. It was a 24-pass move. Movement, strength, ideas. And they just... patterns, pies. They peeled away just layer after layer of Everton's defensive shield, humiliated our defensive midfielders, left Pickford naked, bloodied and exposed. Only Crystal Palace, the worst team of all time, trademark, have been behind for longer than Everton in the league this season. And when that goal went in, fear gripped Goodison. The fans knew this was going to be a true character test for a team that has been totally devoid of character. Personally, 2 decades of making more out of less. That's what I love about Everton. We're now making less out of more, far less. We created nothing. We fought for nothing. We believed in nothing. No system, no confidence. We had the energy levels of Jay Cutler.
No speed.
I'm furious, Davo. The thrill of my week used to be watching Everton Football Club. Win or lose, but they take on all comers with tenacity.
Pluckiness.
Yeah. And right now, it's just a numbing chore with no redeeming quality. It's like having sex with me, probably. But to have to put my kids through that, abject Everton, submit at home to Burnley. I tweeted that I spent the rest of Sunday just experiencing levels of misery, pain, self-loathing. Even the blood fans on Arsenal Fan TV have no idea what that feels like.
So what's going wrong, Rod?
I want to ask you, David, how do you look at it, the problems of those of us on the pavement from up there in your Chelsea penthouse?
I do think that in modern sport, almost across the board, when you give up speed in modern sport, look at what's happening in New England. As I'm watching a lot more NFL football, New England's defense is a very slow defense. You just cannot play modern football in any code without speed. And Everton have very little speed. And we've spoken about their transfer policy, is they're buying older players rather than younger players who would sell on value. And we questioned it as a commercial decision, but as a footballing decision, buying older players when you don't have all that speed coming in and you've got a manager who doesn't want to play all the young quicks. He's not playing all those young players to sort of make up the speed around it. It's lost some of the dynamism. And I think the second thing is that sometimes it's more fun playing as an underdog. You're more released to go and do things as an underdog. And now, Everton having spent that money and bought in some bigger names, it's harder for them. They feel that they've got more pressure on them now, more pressure on to succeed. Not only both you and I, but many people picked Everton to do very, very well this season. Certainly, there was more buzz around Everton going into this season than I remember in any season since we've been doing this, Rog. And I think that pressure has got to them. It's not easy playing when people expect you to win.
I'd say the late, great Monty Hall would be very happy that Everton have gone into the international break on a cliffhanger with a tension bed.
Yeah.
Who will be Everton's manager when we return after the break?
Wow.
Farhad Mashiri, club majority owner, back Koeman with the kiss of death, vote of confidence, which he also undermined by saying that the Burnley loss was, quote, the only unexpected loss this season because we played so many massive teams, instantly putting Everton fans' teeth on edge. The implication that Everton should expect to lose any game. It's like absolutely scurrilous in the eyes of any true supporter. But the honest truth, Davo, the most damning indictment of Koeman's Everton, it's less the results. It's more the performances. Selections, tactics, effort, just lack of any evident learning curve. I asked myself, what is Ronald Koeman good for? And this is the only thing I could come up with. I started a list. If you measure the craniums of every Premier League manager by volume and landmass, I pretty well bet money that Koeman would come top by far. He really is a shadow lover's dream man.
So who do you want to come in to manage the team, Rod? Who do
You,
want?
Davo.
Okay.
You're not available.
Yeah, not available. Not right now.
Not Ancelotti. I'd take Rick Pitino. I'd take Bruce Arena. By the way, Rick Pitino, that would be an amazing bastard offspring of Jose and Rick. I genuinely love Miguel Herrera. Genuinely love him. Or Sean Dyche.
Yeah.
Everton need a manager who loves being at Everton Football Club and understands what's special about it. From day one, Ronaldo Koeman made it pretty clear that the club is a stepping stone, which is absolutely unforgivable. @6monkey Mama tweeted, the only thing that can turn Everton round now is some Wayne Rooney poetry. He actually wrote a poem after this game for the pod, which I can read to you. We are shite, shite, shite. Like when I wake up in a strange black VW Beetle after a long night. The media moan, the fans rant. I feel like I do after a failed hair transplant. Plant. Thank you, Wayne.
That's pretty
I feel
good.
better now.
That's pretty good.
Feel better, don't you?
Okay, Everton may be taking on Water Rog, but your Togger team is on the up. Out of the 15,778 members of our Togger League, you finished 5th, Rog.
Yeah, I take no pleasure in that. Do you know how I did become 5th?
How do you do it,
I
Rog?
started Nick Pope, Burnley's goalkeeper, to curse him. And he ended up having a blinder, and I got like 250 points off him. He had like 2,000 saves.
In a Tracy Chapman fast car twist of irony, Rog, you didn't have enough to surpass one player, actually 4 players, but the top of them, Feel the Burnley, this week's winner, who will receive a custom Men in Blazers patch. Feel the Burnley. All info on signing up for our fantasy league is on meninblazers.com. In MLS, Rog.
That's a Monty Hall tension bed if I ever heard one.
The Supporters' Shield is officially heading north of the border for the first time in MLS history.
A dominant Toronto FC secured the MLS Supporters' Shield, earning the top seed in the playoffs by virtue of a 19-5-8 record and an uncatchable 65 points. As they say in Canada, mazel tov, eh?
Excellent performance by them. Okay, Rog, put on your Depends, because we're entering a massive week for soccer in this country. A week so big, even we will have trouble overhyping it. Friday night, Bruce Arena's boys host Panama in Orlando, and Tuesday they travel to Trinidad and Tobago for the 2 final games of the Vaunted Hex. As it stands, Panama occupies the 3rd and final automatic CONCACAF World Cup qualifying spot on 10 points. The US sits 4th on 9 points. To 100% guarantee qualification for Russia, the US must win both games. The team that finishes 4th in CONCACAF will have a 2-legged play-in against Australia or Syria.
Syria,
Rog.
pretty tasty. I think 4 points would be pretty good. 4 points would be pretty good. 6 points would obviously just dominate
job.
and
Yeah.
blow off any fears. What 6 points is, we're going to win the bloody World Cup. 4 points is, we've got no sleep till Moscow. This is a Friday night huge game, huge stakes against a Panama still smarting from us, knocking them out in lethal fashion of the last World Cup qualifiers with a late Graham Zusi-inspired comeback, which allowed Mexico to edge into the World Cup at the Panamanians' expense. So Friday night's game, just the biggest US World Cup qualifier since November 1989, when Paul Caligari's goal beat Trinidad on the road to qualify for the 1990 World Cup. Probably the highest profile US game since Belgium 2014 World Cup. The difference being, in both of those games, the US were charming, overachieving underdogs, as you were saying earlier about underdogs. On Friday, they're going to be playing the role of underachieving, low-confidence regional power, sagging, confused under the pressure of expectation. Can they deliver?
Of course they can deliver. Of course they can deliver. And I think we all expect them to deliver. It's going to be a lot of pressure on Panama too. A lot of pressure on them playing in Orlando.
They're not going to get an Alexi Lalas tongue lashing.
No, playing in that new stadium. It's good. I think this is what the US needs. Big games of football. I think I'm not talking about the US men's national team. I think US soccer. I think it's great. I can't wait for it, Rog.
I'd say the last 2 games don't exactly inspire confidence. That September loss to Costa Rica at home and the desperate draw at Honduras. Thank you, Bobby Wood. Bruce Arena was brought on to steady our ship, and he summoned for these 2 games, looking at the lineup, an experienced MLS-heavy crew to get to the other side of these treacherous rapids and reach safe harbour. There's notably not a single German-American in the US squad for this massive set of games. No Fabian Johnson. Fitness issues, concerns about how he would adjust to the Caribbean heat. No Texas's finest Weston McKinney from Schalke, too young for the crucible of battle. DeAndre Yedlin, however, will return. There is enough talent on this US team, Davo. Problems in the last round were tactical and mental, but in the last massive must-win game, the Snow Classico against Costa Rica. I think this is going to be a not pretty game, but the US will find a way anyway to get this done. I've got a feeling Clint Dempsey is going to be the sword in the darkness, the watcher on the walls, the shield that guards the realms of men.
I must say, I think you're dead on right with that. I think that in these big qualifiers, these tense qualifiers, I've witnessed a lot of those as an England fan, it tends to be the experienced internationals who step up in these big games and deliver the goods, Rog.
In other international notes, we are thrilled to see Jack Harrison
Couldn't be more thrilled.
of NYCFC, astonishing, gain a call-up to England's under-21 team. We said over Twitter this was remarkable, and it is remarkable for two reasons. Harrison's against the grain career journey. He left Manchester United's academy to head to American high school on the directive of his wonderful mother, his wonderful mum, who wanted to make sure he got an education. That journey's been vindicated. And to be recognised by the English FA, would you describe them as risk-averse conservatives?
Yeah, risk-averse conservatives. And by the way, Rog, we should note for the England under-21s, who are so much better than the England full men's team, the under-21s are superb.
To be recognised by them while he's playing in MLS is a feather in the cap for Harrison, for his family, for NYCFC and the entire league. Real achievement for all. I want to mention a heartwarming international story to close.
No.
A story first reported by Stars and Stripes FC
Huh.
of 7-year-old Alex Ibarra, 7, the American Outlaws Oakland junior capo, who has made the beautiful and bold decision to raffle off the treasure of his life, his signed Christian Pulisic jersey, in order to help raise funds for relief efforts in Puerto Rico. I'm getting goosebumps.
Oh, that's lovely.
As I read this. The raffle is going to take place October 6th at an American Outlaws Oakland watch party. We are blown away by Alex's inspirational selflessness, and we've decided to sully the raffle by adding a signed limited edition Men in Blazers Adidas national team jersey for an unlucky second place raffle winner. So we say support Alex, and may he one day run US soccer and be all of our bosses.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really amazing, Rog. Everyone listening, you can buy tickets for the auction via AO Oakland's website at aooakland.ecwid.com.
Oh, and buy him, support him, and follow his lead. It's an amazing act of kindness. The world needs a lot more of them right now.
Okay, your weekend looks like this, Rog. It starts Friday night with the USA-Panama clash at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. Saturday at 3:30 Eastern Time. It's the NWSL semi-final, Rog, as the Portland Thorns host the Orlando Pride at Providence Park. At that same time, on Sunday, the number 1 seed North Carolina Courage host the Chicago Red Stars. Both of those games are on Lifetime. And because it's an international break, the weekend lasts until Tuesday when the USA will try and officially punch their ticket to Russia. Unique territories at 8 p.m. Eastern on Be In Sports.
And we're going to pod on Wednesday next week so we can capture just the joy, the celebration, the goals that will overfloweth from Graham Zusi.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're a Trinidad and Tobago fan, you might want to skip next week's pod.
Yeah.
There are many other ways to connect to us, including our now extinct
God, please,
Amazon
please,
Emporium. It's gone, which used to keep the show going. Amazon had to close it down because
It was too popular.
they weren't making enough
It was
money.
too popular.
Since Amazon has done away with the partner program, which they have done, by the way, for about a year, but we've still been putting things in there. We're just talking about crap we like, and we're going to post links to them on our website,
What did you call it? The store?
meninblazers.com. We no longer get a tiny percentage that allows
We
us
need
to
a new
cover the
name.
cost of creating the show. What are you putting in the Men in Blazers tuck shop, Roger? What are you putting in the tuck shop?
Oh, a book, Dave.
Yeah.
The Drowned and the Saved by Primo Levi. I pick the same book every year at this time. I read it all day on old Yom Kippur. It's a book about suffering, life, meaning, experience, memory, all the great stuff. About how
you love suffering.
Oh, I do. How stories are told and by whom. The essay, The Grey Zone, I said this last year, which looks at how history reduces everything to good and evil, white and black, instead of the reality in which everything's a complex shade of grey, remains the greatest piece of writing I have ever engaged with. Everyone's guilty of simplifying the things that surround them. Yes, even me, Davo. Reading the same thing every year, I've come to realise it's a remarkable ritual, really rich part of my life. I always take something new out of that essay, but the added layers of meaning that come from my realisation about how I've changed with every reading just make it one of the joys of my life to read those words. Any of our listeners who read the same thing over and over, anything, email me. Let me know what it is and why. I'd love to hear your stories.
I walked into the podcast today and I immediately stopped. I looked at producer JW and Rog said, I don't have anything to put in the Emporium. And Rog looked at my jacket and said, is that a Barracuda jacket?
Oh, Barracuda?
And ping, light bulb. We're going to put the Barracuda jacket into the Emporium. The Barracuda, Rog, it's a classic Manchester sort of
So
jacket
banging and winning my Barracuda, man.
that the skinheads and the mods in the 1960s sort of adopted, maybe the 50s actually adopted, and started wearing. J. Crew make a very nice one.
Steve McQueen wore them. Arnold Palmer wore them.
Yeah.
The Happy Mondays wore them.
Davo wears them. I love a Barracuda jacket. Has a nice sort of tab collar. Has a nice sort of plaid lining.
It's incredibly well tailored and contoured to Davo's pecs.
Yeah, it is. It's well contoured. Look, they don't come cheap, but you can pretty much, depending on what part of the country you live in, they're sort of 9 months a year, 10 months a year jackets. Really nice. My color is utility. You can get it at jcrew.com. It's the Barracuda G9 jacket with thermal insulation.
Do you get a pair of great pecs with them, David?
Yeah, you do.
Or do you have to
Yeah.
buy your own?
Yeah, well, you can go to my... If you want to send me an email, I'll send you to my implant guy. Okay, visit meninblazers.com to sign up for our newsletter, which we produce with our partner Guinness. A new issue is going out this Friday in which you'll preview, Rog, the USA versus Panama game. And we have a special interview with the American Outlaws in which they talk about all that's riding on these final 2 World Cup
Pretty well
qualifying
everything.
games. You can follow us on Twitter at Men in Blazers, at Embassy Davies,
Why
at
would
Rog
you?
Bennett, on Instagram at Men in Blazers, at Embassy
it's awful.
_Davies, on Facebook at Men in Blazers. You can always email us at meninblazers@gmail.com. You can always send your ravens to the crap part of Soho. Venderpunk, Rog.
War pig!
Who wants to sex Matumbo?
Tuitions!
Balls win, balls win.
Take that, Gloria.
Balls lose.
To seersucker.
Abracada, rock on, mate.
Kung Fu fighting America. I love you, Davo.
Love you, Rog.
Insert tension bed here.
Dun-dun. Dun-dun.